Hi everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. So, we'd like to thank you all for joining in. And we've come up with this public speaking session just to know how important it is in our day-to-day lives. So we've split the session into three different sections. One is the introduction, the public speaking, and the discussion activity. So let's first get into introduction. Here what you can see are the topics covered and a few icebreaker options. So over to you, Melvin.
Yep. Thanks, Mamta. Right. Like Mamta said, we'll go through a few topics that we'll cover. And we'll start with a few icebreakers, some examples that will help us know more about them. Then we'll go into what is public speaking, right? What the nitty-gritties of public speaking. After which we look at the importance to learn public speaking. Why is it important for you and for us? And yeah, after which we'll look at the characteristics of public speaking. Yeah, next we'll look into the skills needed for a public speaker. Yeah. Then we'll go into myths or misconceptions surrounding public speaking. And then we'll move to preparations you need to do before getting into the main speech itself. Right. Round off the session with 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 probably the learning points that we got from this session. And towards the end, we'll have a small discussion activity. It won't take much time. Right. Now moving on to icebreakers. So what are icebreakers? At times there's some awkwardness, right? Like we probably had awkwardness the first time we got into a meeting. I don't know Nishant and probably Nishant doesn't know me. So at that time, icebreakers are helpful to ease that awkwardness. So it helps in such scenarios. Right? They make everyone feel comfortable during the presentation or the speech or during a meeting for that matter. Okay, let's go into some of the options for icebreakers. Right. First we have the name game. Right. What happens here is we make a list of the audience members' names. So this is helpful if you can. It will be helpful if you can do this before the speech itself, because you know who is going to come in for the speech. So you make a list of all their names. Now, when you get into the name game itself, over there you write each person's name backwards and you make small chits on it. Right? Then we have random members, like I'll make my name as Nivlem, Nivlem, and I'll ask Nishan to read it. He's like a random, he'll randomly pick it up and he'll has to read the name backwards and then he has to guess whose name is it. And most importantly, we need to set a time limit for this. We'll take over from here.
All right. Next, we have the word game. So what we do here is first you'll have to come up with a category or a subject of a word. So we've taken the example of a dog. And then you have to ask the next person to think of an animal that starts with the last letter of the word dog. So now in our example, it's G. And yeah, the animal can be goat. So, okay, so now that you've got an idea of like what's the game about, can we play the word game? Anyone?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, okay, so we've got topics. I mean, we've got the categories like colors, movies, or places. So, for now, we'll just go with places.
Sure, Mamta. We can do this. I'll start with an easy one. Probably, I'm starting with Delhi. So it's
Okay.
Delhi. Anyone give it a try?
Indore.
Nice. Anybody else?
Next,
Indoor. E. Place.
England.
Right. England. Okay.
Dehradun.
Now, Dehradun. Perfect.
Nashik,
Nashik. All right.
Kolkata,
Kolkata. I always get confused with C or K. It's K, right? Okay. Okay.
K,
Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet? Akhan?
Ahmedabad,
Aurangabad. Perfect. Last chance. Anyone want to try?
Dadar.
Dadar. Okay.
We are from
It's
Mumbai,
Mrs.
so
Mumbai. Looks like we got a pretty good idea of how this works. So, Mamta, you can continue from here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the last icebreaker option, that is, it involves asking open-ended questions. So, such questions would require the opposite person to reply in more than a yes or a no. Also, this helps to, and also helps to get to know your audience a bit better. So also the example for such a question would be asking, how was your day?
Yeah, because how was your day would never end in yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay, better. It would always be like, oh, I did this. Okay, my day was crap. My day was good. So there's a lead in where you can start. You can know more about it, and then you can ask more questions. So that is how open-ended questions work. They don't end in a yes or a no that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next we move on to the important part of the session, that is the public speaking. Okay. So in public speaking, first let's get to know what is public speaking exactly. So, like basically it's an act of giving speeches in public. Also it can be termed as effective oral communication with the audience. And the main aim of it is to educate and influence your listeners. To make it more interesting to your listeners, we can also use some visual aids such as graphs, charts, or video clips. And few examples of public speaking would be office meetings or the workshops like the one we're going through, or even TED Talks. And in addition, it's also about influencing, convincing, empathizing, building relationships, and most importantly, listening to your audience. This helps you to tell stories and also connect with your audience. Melvin, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mamta. Now that we had a good understanding or rather some understanding of public speaking, we'll go through the importance of public speaking. Yeah, so what does it mean for you or for me? Right. The first thing it does, it boosts your confidence. Yeah, how do we get to this? How do we get to boosting our confidence to public speaking? Anybody or rather most of us are not good at public speaking. So what we are afraid of is stage fright. That fear lies within. So we need to acknowledge that fear first. And then what we do next, we work on those fears. So we minimize our fears so we can get on the stage and then we can showcase our skills. Additionally, practicing constantly and going out there in front of a crowd will get you more confident. And further up, if you can take this step further, interacting with your audience, probably engaging with them like in between, like asking them questions or probably throwing a trivia or a fun fact in over there. So that would eliminate the stage fright within you. Next, and I think this is probably as important as confidence, it helps in your career growth. So when you're confident, you'll be trusted with more responsibilities. Like I'm doing a particular task and probably ask the okay, see that I'm good at it. And they'll give me more responsibilities. Probably I'll do something more and more than that. And I'll take it from there. So when you do this, when you keep on doing better, you get better at stuff, better at your work, then you know what you're doing, right? And then you know to speak. And if you're in a group of 3 or 4 of a team and you're working better, so you know the ins and outs of your project. So you need to speak well. When you speak well, the others would listen because you have experience in that. So that is how it contributes. It's like a leading thing about confidence when you speak well. And probably this is quite important for everyone over here. You want to go for an interview and you don't know what to talk about, like if you've not done much of the work, if you've not spoken about what you've done, so how would you actually speak with the interviewer itself? What if he questions you about more things? Now these things, they will build up and then you'll be more confident and you'll speak well in front of the interviewer. Maybe you can even sway him in your favor. And bringing this home, maybe at CNC, you can even get that sweet promotion you require. Let's get more into importance. Right. So first, we have further is personal satisfaction. I don't know about you, but when we look back from where we started, the fear that we had, the anxiety that we had getting on stage or getting in front of people. And now when we speak in front of a crowd, when we speak fluently, that's a massive achievement for us, like a personal achievement. And as you get better at it, and you keep practicing, taking every opportunity, then you get even a greater sense of satisfaction at the end. Next one is debate. This I always had a kind of a love-hate relationship with debating because probably I don't like confrontation. But then, for example, during this session, if we have Q&A sessions with one of you all or with all of you all, and you all have a counterpoint to what we have told, then we can actually come to a point where we both agree on something, and we keep throwing ideas at you all. You all throw ideas at us. And that way, this argument, this sort of argumentative nature kind of a thing, it helps us in informal settings. When you say informal settings, we are talking about probably talks with your parents about doing something else, maybe talk with your significant other, or maybe even with your friends. So how you argue in your formal environments help us in the informal surroundings as well. And most importantly, I would say this is also improves the communication skills. We are talking about both, about verbal when we give a speech and non-verbal. Why non-verbal is we don't talk about anything out of the air, right? It's not in front of us. I don't have a teleprompter in front of me. So we need to write this down. It's like a draft or something. And over there also, we need good verbal, non-verbal skills in writing things that the other person, or maybe you, I'm talking about you, the audience that knows, they should know what we're saying. So that is where critical thinking comes in. And a fun fact about public speakers. Sorry. Public speakers are great at overall communication in all aspects of their life. Right, up next, we have characteristics of public speaking. Mamta, you want to take over?
Yeah. So the first characteristic is being confident. So now when you're confident, people look at you as an accurate, intelligent, and a knowledgeable speaker. So in case you have stage fear, right, engaging with your audience will help you get rid of it. Next up is don't be harsh on yourself. Trust your audience and don't be negative. You know, audience is always curious about what you have to share. So they are your people. Next is passion. So what is passion? Passion means having a strong enthusiasm for something, right? Now, if a subject excites you, the speech will flow naturally. Also, it'll help to convey your message effectively. So you need to reflect sincerity in your speech. Next up is be yourself. Now, you know, you got to be yourself because the audience can sense when you're being fake. So be authentic and speak in your natural tone. And always keep rehearsing. And yeah, next up is self-aware. So be self-aware. Like, you know, you got to work on improving your strengths while reducing your weaknesses. You can also add humor or storytelling to your speech because this will boost confidence with having an interaction with your audience. Next is engaging with your audience. Now this helps to keep the speech conversational. You know, this avoids your crowd from getting bored and getting distracted. So you can also infuse some jokes and body relaxing activities to keep their focus till the end. So guys, any other characteristics you'd like to add? Any one of them?
I
Anything
think
from-
the most important thing would be practice in case you are not confident and not giving up when you're practicing for the first time, right? Like that, these are some really golden tips that you guys have collated. So thanks for that. Mainly because like in case you know that you're not a good speaker and if you don't, if you fail on the first attempt itself, then you should not give up. Just come back and practice again when no one is watching. And then when after enough practice sessions, you will you'll be able to speak comfortably on the topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Lokesh.
Okay.
And
So
anybody else? Okay.
yeah, anyone else? All right. Okay. So next, moving on to skills required by a public speaker. You know, it's a simple but a basic skill. You just have to breathe. if you're not careful about nervousness, right, so it may lead to anxiety attacks. So in order to tackle this, we need to set some time before the speech. Also, you got to calm your body down by breathing deeply. Further, we have minimal notes. To avoid writing a lengthy speech and just keep the notes to the minimum. You can also use 1 or 2 word prompts for every point. Now, doing so helps to keep pace and it doesn't divert your audience. Next is admitting you're nervous. Now, this helps to ease pressure on you and your audience. So you get a sense of relief and a chance to fix the anxiety. Okay, so now let's check out more about the skills required. Melvin?
All right, thank you. So let's continue with you, the audience. Now what happens is mostly or other, almost every time we get so caught up in drafting the speech and delivering the speech that we forget the most important thing that is in front of us. That is the audience. So we even if we take it a step further, why should the audience listen to you? Frankly, why should all of you listen to us for that matter? So we should see from their point of view as in what do they need? How can we share information that will be helpful for them? So in order to get this done, we should deliver something. We should deliver that the speech should actually resonate with them. They should have something contextual that they can relate with, right? So on a side note, I'm sorry if there's a lot of background noise. It's quite thundering and lightning over here. Right, sure.
That's okay. Yeah, Thor has come to pay you.
Yeah, before the release it seems. Right, coming back to speech, yeah. So for speech, we design a speech that's specific to our audience, right? That will help them. And the other part of knowing the crowd is knowing the size of your crowd. The crowd won't be as small as we have right now, probably of 10 to 15. It can be even big. So if it's a bigger crowd, it will be a big hall. And over there, you're the only person that they can see. So if you have to be a bit more empowering, maybe with your hand gestures and your body movements and be a bit louder, that will help. And now it's almost opposite when you talk about a crowd like we have, a small crowd. Therein you get a chance of interacting with almost everybody. So you take advantage of that and you speak in a very, not a low tone, but slightly lower than what you speak to a larger crowd. Hand gestures. Okay, this comes back to the previous one. When I know I'm guilty of this. When you get nervous, right, our hands move in every direction, north, south, east, west. We create like a windmill of our hands, and it doesn't really help because as we get more nervous, it actually increases, and we're not even aware of the hand movements we use. Right? And this is a fun fact, and I still can't believe it, but probably yes. When you actually slow down your hand movements, your gestures, it also eases your mind. Fine. Coming back to the last point in this section, we have of skills. We have practicing beforehand. Like Lokesh was saying in the previous section, we need to practice because any occasion in our life, if we go unprepared, it may lead to anxiety because we don't know what we are about to show or about to write or about to tell, right? So practicing and seizing every opportunity at public speaking is one of those things. This way you can learn the ins and outs, the intricacies of public speaking. And at the end, towards the end, you can even boost confidence for that real speech that you have, that one speech that you want to give. Interestingly, TED speakers, yeah, the TED on YouTube, TED speaking. So these guys practice a whopping 10 times before the actual speech. Yeah, this is the amount that goes into the actual speech itself. Right, we're done with skills. So let's move on. The myths of public speaking. Right, myths are nothing but misconceptions surrounding a particular topic. In our case, public speaking. This first one we'd say is you must speak in English. I was kind of in favor of this, but then when I started reading a lot about other things, it seemed that you don't need to speak in English, right? You can speak in the language you're confident in, you're comfortable in, probably English, Hindi, Marathi, whatever. And then it brings up to the next point. You have to be physically attractive. Yeah, let's face it, none of us are Greek gods or supermodels. It really doesn't matter when you give a speech. Right? For example, if you're on stage, you don't need to move your hands around. You need to your posture needs to be correct. The way you say things has to be nice. It doesn't have to be fast. It has to be slow. So in short, I'm talking more about body language on screen, which we getting nervous is not okay. Yeah, getting nervous is not okay. That's what I always thought. So, but that is not true. Whether you are experienced or inexperienced, everyone gets nervous at some point in time. What you do with that is what matters. So you accept that you're nervous, and then you just continue with your speech. Next up, you must know big words. And I'm guilty of this as well. I try to include words that sound very fancy for me without even knowing that will the other person understand or will the other person be comfortable with it. Right? So rather we use simple language, like simpler language that every person in the audience can connect with, or at least most of them can connect with. Like complex words really don't do good for you. They actually distract your audience. And once your audience is distracted, there's no use of your speech. Step we have memorizing the speech itself, the whole speech. Unless you're a genius of some sort, I don't think anyone can memorize the speech. What you can do rather is memorize the opening, the key points, and the conclusion. You can also use cue cards, which can help you recall the topic. Advanced speakers.
Melvin, your voice is breaking, I think. Yeah.
Breaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I the only one? I think it's because of the thunder and lightning.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, anyways, carry on. Yeah. Uh, let's see. Let's see for a bit more. Like, I think it's gotten better.
Getting better? Perfect. Yeah. All right. The next myth we have is the speech has to be perfect every time. Right. Okay, about being perfect, no one's born perfect, so everyone makes mistakes. Even the pros make mistakes. So go ahead and make mistakes. You'll always learn from each mistake that you make. Next up, need to have a lot of knowledge. Granted, we need to have a lot of knowledge, but we need to have knowledge more about the topic that we are going to cover, the one that you're going to speak on. We don't need to be an expert. Just speak about what you know. Right? I mean, as long as we know what we're talking about, the audience will always be okay with it. After which people might laugh or judge at you. I suppose this is the majority of people that are fear about, right? People might judge or laugh at you, right? Maybe reality is maybe they will, maybe they won't. Even if they do, what are you going to do about it? What you can do is laugh with them, yeah, and then give it a pause and then continue with the speech. We look stupid if we mess up. All right. So how do you think the pros are so good at it, right? If we mess up, or even they mess up at times. So here's the thing: the only person, right? The only person that knows what goes into a speech next, what is the next line of the speech, is the audience, right? So if you don't remember the line, or you go in a tangent, or you just completely go off topic, don't panic. What you can do is just stay calm, and nobody will notice you've lost track. Just continue with the speech after that. That's quite a lot to cover for the myths. Yeah. Anyone would like to add to this, to the misconceptions of public speaking?
Nothing at my end. Yeah, I think one major myth is like some people are just born speakers. That's not true. So yeah, that is something which I'd like to add. Like no one is a born speaker or a presenter. It's just that to be a good speaker, everyone gets a practice, assesses what grabs a person's or their audience's attention, and then overcomes the myths that you have listed and follows the tips that you shared
Yeah,
previously. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some need
and
to
recently I've realized that also we must remember that just because somebody is being able to speak fluently in English or like doesn't make them smart by default. So this is also something that people think
yes.
that, oh, I don't know English enough, so I am naturally not smart enough. That is not true at all. I know plenty of people who are very smart and they can speak very well if they are speaking in their native language. It's just that when they speak in English, they struggle a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyone else want to contribute?
Also, like one thing that I realized recently that we usually don't have the fear of public speaking. We just fear that we might make some grammatical mistakes that can be learned. So, uh, correlating public speaking and making grammatical mistakes is a very wrong thing, I can say. Like we need to accept that if we work on our grammar, then it will be good, and maximum fear will get reduced if you are fluent with your grammar. And if even if you make some grammatical mistakes, the audience are usually generous enough to let it go and understand what you really are trying to say.
That is right. Yeah, that's right. How, I suppose that's about the myths. Yeah. We can move forward with the next topic. Mamta, you want to take over?
Yeah. Okay. So next, let's look at what are the preparations required before the speech. Firstly, and the most importantly is you have to know your content. So this includes knowing the ins and outs of the topic or the speech. Then we need to organize the presentation by following a step-by-step structure or a proper content flow. Next up, we can also use cue cards to remember the main points of our speech. Okay, next is you got to rehearse the speech as if you're in front of the audience. Okay, next is keep yourself motivated and confident by always thinking and talking positively to yourself. Next up, visualize your surroundings to know more about like how the event will look like on the day of the speech. And lastly, take some deep breaths, calm your body down and relax. So Melvin, your turn.
Thank you, Mamta. We finally come to the end of the session. So almost at the end, I suppose.
Melvin,
Yeah.
before you move ahead, I would like to add here,
Yes,
like
ma'am.
for rehearsing the speech, we can go for rehearsing the speech in front of a mirror. That really helps.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh yeah. In front of a mirror, or probably with one of your close friends, or something like that. So, yeah. Thank you.
And about taking, the breathing exercise, there is also called power posing. So that is also a helpful technique, even if you are in front of the mirror or not. But it would be good. There is a TED talk also based on the topic, like
It's by
how to power
yeah. It's
pose
by
before the
it's,
presentation, or
it's by
facing.
Amy Curry, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't remember the speaker, but yes, power posing really helps.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Anybody want to contribute to this particular section?
So yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is the summary, yeah, initially we had gone through a few of the icebreaker examples, to ease out the awkwardness between the speaker and the audience. And next, we got to know the exact definition of what's a public speaking. We also learned the significance of public speaking and most importantly, its role in boosting your confidence and growth prospects. So we covered various characteristics of public speaking. The aspects we looked at here were having confidence, trusting the audience, exuding passion, being yourself, and so on. In addition, we also went through some skills required by a public speaker. Here we've introduced skills like breathing deeply, having minimal notes, admitting that you're nervous, practicing beforehand, and so on. And then we also looked at the myths of public speaking. So we got to know that speaking in English is not important. Being physically attractive is not important. Also knowing big words. And it's not that everyone has to be knowledgeable and so on. And finally, we got into the pointers to follow before giving the speech. We got to know a few pointers. We got to know a few pointers to be followed before giving the speech. And okay, so now let's finally get into the discussion activity. So here, I just want you guys, like, why don't you share a public speaking tip, what you feel is important?
Yeah, go ahead, Anuj. Go ahead.
One quote I listened a while back was finish your speaking before your audience finish listening. So that gives a lot of perspective. When should we stop while speaking and how much should we talk when we are on stage? Because once we get going, we just get going. So yeah, that's one valuable tip that I had with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Nanda here.
Yeah.
I think knowing your content thoroughly will really make a difference, because then you will be comfortable with talking and your pose, and maybe that will help make the speech interesting as well.
Yeah.
So knowing your content deeply is important. Otherwise it becomes monotonous and you are not listening to the audience. And knowing your audience in advance also might help.
Okay. Thanks, Nanda. I am back. Thanks, Nanda. Thanks, Anuj.
Thank you. Melvin is back.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, for me, I think a tip which I follow, like especially when taking a session with our team, is like I think of examples for each audience type on the team. It may not be easy for you to, in case we are speaking to a new audience, how to make examples for everyone. But knowing your audience and then having a generic idea about the kind of examples that you can use to especially convey complex messages, that helps, because we are engrossed by stories, and stories kind of with when we include an example, it kind of becomes a story. Even if we are teaching a technical topic, an example kind of tells a story of how a particular person can relate. Like if I give a really relevant example, you'll go back in your memory and then you think that, hey, I went through this thing. So it's a story for you. It's a story in your mind. So it will stick with your audience. So when this is something, again, it is an amalgamation. Sorry about this complex word. I'm breaking the tip, but I don't have a better word for it. But it's an amalgamation of all the tips that you have shared. And after you implement those tips, the final thing could be brushing up and thinking of examples which would make your speech similar to a story instead of just presentation of topics, right? You guys did a great job. You included a lot of examples. So I was really engaged throughout the presentation, right? So like I would like to take, you have implemented all the best practices that you taught in this session. So I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks, Lokesh. And thanks, Mamta, for taking over towards the end.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Seema?
Yeah, I like the approach that you both use for presenting this. There was a rhythm, and I'm sure you both practiced at least twice before today.
Yeah, yeah. Twice.
Yeah, twice would be an
Twice.
understatement. Yeah.
Yeah, so that reflects, because it is difficult because you need to coordinate and, plan your talk timing. So I like that. Engaging. Good.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Location mute. You're still on mute, Lokesh.
I clicked unmute.
You're doing it on purpose, aren't you? Don't do it on
I
purpose.
I'm implementing your tip of humor, right? So the joke is on me. So yeah. So yeah. One more thing is like I know you guys practice a lot. It came across in your presentation. One more thing about presenting digitally versus being in present, right? I've realized presenting digitally is a little easier, right? One fear goes away that someone from the audience will come and kill you, which doesn't happen even when you're public speaking unless you are a political leader. So that fear will not exist for, I think, any one of us. That is also something which I'd like anyone who is hesitant or anyone who, if you develop any hesitancy when you are going to present a topic, uh, don't fear वो चार लोग क्या कहेंगे. Just practice and do like आप क्या कहोगे, right? So focus on that, plan it, plan things out, take feedback from others, and then I think we all can do well, right? So it's a very important skill, honestly. Like Melvin said, that career opportunities or interviews, like I can't hold everyone on the team forever, but wherever in your career as well, if you are a good speaker, when I interview people, especially after lunch, in case the candidate is really energetic, my sleep goes away. Otherwise, I'm like so zonked out after lunch that even my energy levels go down during interviews. If the candidate is like you all are good. That's why in my interviews with you, you would have felt my energy as well because you exude the energy to me also. So try to be energetic when you're talking in your with whoever you talk, right? So it really makes a big difference in your overall skill set and the way you come across. There's something which you all should work upon, honestly. That's why I've been wanting to have this session with the team. I'm like, let's see if we can have a spare Friday and we can have a rerun with Mamta and Melvin for people who have not attended today, because Disco has a pretty crazy project. Thanks, Pauline, for attending despite that. We have a major release on Monday. So Disco people, which is a big team, couldn't attend. But yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate what Melvin and Mamta have done. So thank you.
Welcome, Lokesh. Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you.
everyone.
Yes.
If you're done, we can chit chat on something else if you want to, if there's enough time for everybody.
Yeah, you guys can do that. Like I'll drop off Disco. I need to do some disco. But yeah,
Perfect for a Friday evening.
yeah. Hey Hima, hi. Thanks for logging in early for this.
Hi,
No
Hema.
problem, Lucas. No problem, Shakira.